Hello everyone, this is Rick and today we are going to discuss about the religion of Jainism. We are going to talk about the Tirthankaras who played an important role in the foundation of the religion, and we are also going to go through the philosophy behind the religion of Jainism. So without doing any delay, let's get the Jaina Tirthankaras Vardhamana Mahavir. So there were 24 Tirthankars in Jainism and Vardhamana Mahavir was the last of them. We are going to read about what were their main contributions. Jainism is an ancient doctrine predating Buddhism, with its exact age being difficult to determine. So this doctrine of religion predates Buddhism, but its exact date is very much difficult to establish because there were 24 or 23 Tirthankaras before Vardhaman Mahavir. So when did this policy start? When did the doctrine of Tirthankar start? No one knows. Both Buddha and Mahavir were contemporaries with overlapping teachings such as rejection of the Vedas, non-theistic views, and emphasis on renunciation and self-effort for liberation. So they had many common elements between them, and Buddha and Mahavir were also contemporary to each other. The central figures of Jainism are the Tirthankars, with Mahavir being the 24th and the most notable one, who further refined and propagated the teachings. So Mahavir was the 24th of the Tirthankar and the most notable one. Jain teachings focus on overcoming the cycle of rebirth through personal effort and ethical living. So there was the cycle of rebirth in which one soul takes birth in different bodies after each lifetime. So Jain teachings focused on going away or being liberated from the cycle of rebirth through personal effort and ethical living. The philosophy highlights the power of the soul to attain moksha, emphasizing a path of non-violence, truth, and asceticism. So with the path of moral discipline and ethical contact, one can get enlightenment. The concept of Tirthankar. Now what was the concept of Tirthankar? How many Tirthankars were there? Jainism proposes a cyclical view of the time divided into two half cycles, Utsarpinis, which means progressive, and Avsarpinis, which means regressive. So time is a cyclical process and there are two halves of the cycle. One is dedicated to progressiveness and another one is dedicated to regressiveness. Each half cycle is further split into 6 stages known as kalas, believed to span over vast periods of time. So each half cycle has been further divided into 6 stages which are known as kalas, and they are believed to span over vast periods of time. There are believed to be 24 Tirthankars in each half cycle, with Rishabhnath as the first and Mahavir as the 24th. So in each half cycle there are 24 Tirthankars, and the first Tirthankar in Jainist philosophy was Rishabhnath. The last one and the most notable one was Vardhamana Mahavir. Mahavir, also known as Vardhaman, belonged to the Saurashtra region of Gujarat. So Mahavir originally resided in the Saurashtra region of Gujarat. Tirthankars are revered teachers who have attained enlightenment and help others to cross the ocean of suffering. So all the Tirthankars are believed to have gained enlightenment and they are there to guide others towards the from the ocean of suffering or through the ocean of suffering. Life and legend of Mahavir. How was the life of Mahavir and what are the legends associated with it? Mahavir, originally named Vardhaman, was born in 599 BC in Kundagrama, a city near Vaishali, in a Kshatriya family. So Mahavir originally was from a city near Vaishali called Kundagram, and he was from the Kshatriya clan. His birth and life are subjected to varying interpretations by Digambar and Svetambar sects of Jainism. So there are two sects of Jainism. One is Digambar and another one is Svetambar. Now both these sects define the birth of Mahavir in different contexts. Mahavir's mother is said to have had visions foreshadowing his future greatness, signifying a departure from ordinary soul to a Tirthankar. So Mahavir's mother had some kind of future predictions where there was said that he will be a extraordinary soul and is supposed to be a Tirthankar. He is celebrated for his profound respect for all living beings, exemplified by his practice of Ahimsa, which is non-violence. So he gave very much respect to all forms of life and all living beings, and that has been exemplified by the policy of Ahimsa, which all the believers of religion in Jainism follow even today. Both Digambar and Svetambar traditions agree on Mahavir's aesthetic life, his enlightenment, and his teachings despite minor differences in the narratives. So, all the sects of Jainism, there are mainly two notable sects, the Digambar and Svetambar. Both believe that Mahavir led a life of ascetic and his enlightenment and teachings were very much significant, but there are minor differences between the beliefs of these two sects of Jainism. Ascetic life and enlightenment of Mahavir. So how did he get enlightened and how was his life as an ascetic? Mahavir underwent a long period of extreme asceticism, meditating in silence and fasting, leading to his enlightenment. So he went through severe suffering in order to get enlightened, and he meditated in silence without any food throughout days and years in order to get the knowledge of ultimate truth. According to Svetambar text, Mahavir achieved Kevala Janana, which means omniscience, at the age of 42 and lived to preach for 30 years. So at the age of 42, Mahavir achieved the knowledge which is omniscience, and he lived for another 30 years to distribute or to guide others towards the knowledge of enlightenment. The concept of non-attachment and renunciation is pivotal as Mahavir forsook worldly pleasures to attain spiritual purity. So the concept of non-attachment towards materialistic thing and renunciation from the world is very much significant, because Mahavir forgot all kind of worldly pleasures in order to attain the goal of spirituality. Digambar sect emphasized Mahavir's absolute detachment, claiming he possessed no possessions, not even clothes, upon enlightenment. So when he was enlightenment, there was not a single piece of cloth as a possession in his body. Thus was the view of Digambar sect of Jainism. His teachings after enlightenment focused on reality's complexity and ethical conduct, leading to liberation from the cycle of rebirth. So all his teachings were focused on the attainment of spirituality in such an extent that one will be liberated from the cycle of rebirth. Tirthankar in Jain cosmology and philosophy. What was the contribution of each Tirthankar and what role did they play in Jain cosmology and philosophy? Tirthankars are spiritual guides who have achieved liberation and help others in crossing the samsara. Samsara means the materialistic world, the lifespan in the materialistic world. So Tirthankars are spiritual guides who will help you to go through the samsara and achieve liberation. Mahavira, as the 24th Tirthankar, is believed to have made substantial contributions to the propagation and refinement of Jain teachings. So, Mahavira was the last of the Tirthankars and he is believed to have made very much notable contribution for the propagation and refinement of the Jain teachings, which means refinement of the teachings of all the other Tirthankars who came before him. The concept of Tirthankar implies not just the achievement of spiritual victory but also the role of a fort builder enabling others to cross the ocean of existence. So the concept of Tirthankar is not only about the achievement of spirituality but also a builder of a place of security where others will be helped to cross the ocean of existence. Mahavira's enlightenment in association with the traditional date of 527 BC marking the beginning of Veed Nirvana era. So it is believed that in 527 BC Mahavira was dead and that marked the beginning of Veed Nirvana era. Jain cosmology is integrate, posting a universe without the beginning or end, cycling through upwards and downwards arcs. So it is very much integrate feature in the Jain cosmology where the universe is without any kind of beginning or end. It is a cyclical process through upwards and downwards arc. Now, how was the understanding of reality according to Jainism? Jain philosophy offers multifaceted perspective on truth known as Anekantavada, suggesting that reality is too complex for any single viewpoint to grasp entirely. So according to Jainism, reality is a very vast and complex concept and any single viewpoint is not sufficient to understand the philosophy of Anekantavada, which means the multifaceted perspective on truth. The concept of Set Eva or from a certain point of view emphasizes the conditional and relative nature of statements about reality. So there is also the concept of Set Eva, which means from a certain point of view, and that emphasizes on the conditional and relative nature of the truth. Saptavangi Nyaya or the theory of sevenfold prediction is a sophisticated approach to describe reality from multiple perspectives in Jain philosophy. So there is another theory which is the sevenfold prediction, and this is a theory to describe reality from multiple perspectives. Reality is divided into three basic categories: conscious entities, which are jiva, non-sentient substances, which are ajiva, and neither sentient nor non-sentient, neither nor reality. So these are the three kind of categories in which reality has been divided: jiva, ajiva, and neither sentient nor non-sentient. Jiva is considered to have a pure conscious nature but can be obscured by karma particles that bind it to due attachment and delusion. So jiva is considered to have a pure conscious nature, but if the karma is not correct, there is no function of your consciousness. Jaina metaphysics, jiva and ajiva. So we will read about the metaphysics concept in Jainism, and we will go through the concept of Jiv and Achieve. Jiv, the soul of in Jainism, is described as possessing consciousness and is capable of liberation from the karmic cycle. So this is the possessing of consciousness, and with the soul, with the possession of consciousness, one can get liberation from the karmic cycle. Ajiv represents the non-living components of reality, including matter, space and time. So these are the non-living components which does not have any life, and these includes matter, space and time. Karma is a material substance in Jain metaphysics which attaches to jiva, reflecting its potential for liberation. So karma depends on how the jiva spends its time in the samsara. So karma is a material substance in Jain metaphysics, and with the karma, whether good or bad, you can get potential, you can attain potential for liberation. The process of shedding karma and purifying the jiva involves right faith, knowledge and conduct. So the process of shedding karma and purifying the jiva, which means purifying one's consciousness, involves right faith, knowledge and conduct. In order to get good karma, you must have the right faith, you must have the proper knowledge, and you must conduct your life in a certain discipline. The goal to achieve Siddha Loka, a state of pure consciousness and liberation free from the cycle of birth and death. So this is the goal, ultimate goal, that is to achieve the Siddha Lok, where the consciousness is pure, one is liberated and one is free from the cycle of birth and rebirth. Karma in Jain philosophy. We will go into the depths of karma in Jain philosophy. Karma is considered to be a form of matter that interacts with jiva, influencing its reincarnations and experiences. So karma is a form of matter according to Jainism, and it depends on how is the interaction between jiva and karma, and thus one's reincarnation is decided. What kind of rebirth one will have is decided according to the interaction between the jiva and karma. Jivas can become overwhelmed by karma, but through right knowledge and action, they can prevent new karmas from binding and shed existing ones. So through proper actions, one can decide their cycle of reincarnation. What kind of birth one will have, that can be decided through one's karma. The concept of nirjara, or wearing out of karma, is crucial for jiva's eventual liberation. So in order to get liberated from the cycle of birth and rebirth, there is the concept of nirjar, which means the effect of karma will be wearing out. The Jain path to liberation includes understanding the true nature of reality and jiva's entanglement with karma. So the path to liberation includes the following. The first one is true nature of reality you will have to understand, and the jiva's interaction with karmic forces. The ultimate aim is to reach a state of omniscience and liberation embodied in the ideal of an arhat and ultimately a siddha. So the ultimate aim is to gain all knowledge, that is omniscience, and thus being liberated from the cycle of birth and rebirth. Now what is the challenge of karma? Karma is unique to Jainism as it is seen as a physical substance that obscures the true nature of the jiva. So in all other philosophies in ancient India, karma is not a physical substance, but In Jainism, karma is a physical substance that obscures the true nature of one's being. Delusional beliefs, emotions, and actions cause the influx of karma which obscures the jiva's consciousness. So it has been rightly said that one can be overwhelmed by the delusional beliefs, emotions, that is, karma can take effect, karma can obscure the jiva's consciousness. The jiva must practice asceticism and ethical living to stop the flow of karma and purity and purify its existence. So to practice the concept of asceticism is an ethical living to stop the flow of karma, to stop the effect of karma into one's existence, and thus one can purify its being. The state when jiva achieves liberation from karma is called moksha, which is the ultimate goal in Jain practice. So the ultimate goal is enlightenment, and that means liberation from all kinds of effects that karma can make into one's life, and that is the ultimate goal in Jainism. Jainism details specific qualities such as the bhavyatva, the capability to achieve liberation, which not all souls possess. So it is not upon every soul to get liberation, but with proper kind of disciplinary conduct one can wear out the effect of karma and get moksha. Diverse traditions within Jainism. So now within Jainism only there are different kinds of traditions and sects. Jainism's two major sects are Digambara and Svetambara, have varying accounts of Mahavira's life and role of monks and nuns. So these two sects present different accounts of Mahavir's life, and their roles as monks and nuns are also different in the two different sects of Jainism. The Digambar tradition traces complete renunciation, suggesting Mahavir remained without any possessions, including cloth. So the Digambar tradition stresses on the fact that when Mahavir gained enlightenment, he was without any kind of possessions, including clothes. Therefore, it stresses on the belief of complete renunciation. Svetambars allow more flexibility, suggesting that Mahavir wore white clothing and the monastic community can possess simple items. So according to the Svetambars, it is more flexible, their doctrine is much more flexible, suggesting that Mahavir wore a white piece of cloth while being enlightened, and the monastic community can have some simple possessions as items which are required in their daily life. Both sects agree on fundamental teachings of Mahavir but diverge on scriptural interpretations and monastic practices. So their fundamental philosophy is very much same, but they diverge, they vary from each other on scriptural interpretations, which means interpretations of different scripts in Jainism, and also they vary in the monastic practices. The difference highlight the rich diversity within Jain thought and the varied approaches to reaching liberations. So there is diverse thought in Jainism, and the approaches to reach liberation vary from each other. Philosophical differences within Jain sects. What are the differences of philosophy within the two sects? Digambar and Svetambar sect differ on doctrinal interpretations such as the necessity of ascetic nudity and woman's ability to attain liberation. So there are differences in view regarding woman's ability to attain liberation and the possessions to be held by a Jain monk. Digambars assert that true ascetics should not wear clothing symbolizing complete detachment, while Svetambars accept monastic attire. So in the get-up, in the point of view of what kind of get-up a monk should have, Digambars suggest that there should be no clothing on a monk's body, symbolizing complete detachment, while Swetambars accept that there can be simple possessions for monks in Jain philosophy. There is a disagreement on whether women can achieve liberation directly or first be reborn as men, with Digambars holding the later view. So, according to Digambars, women should be born as men in order to attain the knowledge of liberation, because as by being a woman one cannot get liberated from the cycle of birth and rebirth. So in the next life one should wait to become born as a man in order to get liberated, but such view cannot be seen in the Swetambar sect. Textual differences also exist, with each sect having its own canonical scriptures. So there are textual differences also, where each sect possesses a different canonical scripture. These variances represent the dynamic nature of Jain religious practice and its adaptability to different cultural contexts. So thus we find a diversification in the view or the philosophy of Jainism. Mahavir's quest for enlightenment. How was Mahavir's quest for enlightenment? Mahavir's journey to enlightenment involved rigorous ascetic practices symbolizing the Jain ethos of self-discipline and internal purification. So he was a very disciplined in the manner of asceticism that he practiced, and thus it symbolizes that in order to get internal purification one will have to go through rigorous suffering. His practice included prolonged fasting, meditation and silence, showcasing the importance of self-restraint in Jainism. So he was into prolonged fasting, deep meditation and practice of no speaking, showcasing the importance of self-restraint in the philosophy of Jainism. Detailed accounts of his ascetic life serve as an exemplar for Jains, emphasizing the path of renunciation. So his life is an example to all the Jain monks in order to the discipline you should have in order to get the path of renunciation, in order to achieve the goal of enlightenment. Mahavir's teaching post-enlightenment stresses the significance of knowledge and renunciation of worldly achievements. So after getting enlightened, he stressed on the teaching, and that teaching signified on the importance of knowledge and renunciation in order to get the knowledge of ultimate truth. His life is a testament to belief that enlightenment is achievable through dedicated practice and ethical living. Role of Ganas in spreading Mahavir's teachings. So Gana Sanghas are the political entities which were there at that period of time. They were republican form of government and they helped a lot in spreading Mahavir's teachings. After Mahavir achieved enlightenment, he organized a Sangh to disseminate his teachings vital for the spread of Jainism. So he organized a Sangh after getting enlightenment, and through this Sangh he could distribute his knowledge to others. The Ganadhars, Mahavir's chief disciples, played a key role in codifying and propagating the Jain doctrine. So Ganadharas are the chief disciples of Mahavir, and they played a key role in writing and propagating the Jain doctrine. The early Sangh consisted of both monks and lay followers, indicating the inclusive nature of Mahavir's teachings. So the early Sangh had a very inclusive nature in Jain philosophy, and they consisted both monks of the monastic order and lay followers who were simple people following the path of Jainism, and thus we get an inclusive nature of Mahavir's teachings. The structure and organization of the Jain community by Mahavir established a sustainable framework for religious education and practice. So the organization of Jain community, the leadership capabilities displayed by Mahavir established a very much sustainable, long-lasting framework for religious education and practice. The presence of Ganadharas highlight the collaborative aspect of Jain teaching with learned disciples helping to interpret and spread Mahavir's message. So the interpretation of Mahavir's message rested on his learned disciples who were very much educated in religious framework to spread the education that had been codified by them. Now we will go through Anekantavada, which is the Jain doctrine of relativity. Anekantavada, the doctrine of multiplicity of viewpoints, is central to Jain epistemology, acknowledging the complexity of truth. So according to Jainism, the doctrine of multiplicity is very much prominent, which means the truth is very much complex concept and is very vast, and it cannot be interpreted from a single viewpoint. This philosophical stance challenges the absolute narratives promoting tolerance for multiple truth based on context and perspective. So we must be tolerant towards the multiple truths based on context and perspective. It challenges the absolute single path oriented narrative of truth. The Saptavangi Naya, or the sevenfold prediction, offers a nuanced approach to understanding and discussing reality. So this is another theory through which we can get a nuanced approach to understanding and discussing reality. The doctrine encourages intellectual humility, recognizing that one's knowledge is always partial and limited. So one cannot be all-knowing, therefore the truth cannot be analyzed from a single viewpoint, and thus it recognizes one's knowledge is always partial and limited. The Anekantavada has implications beyond philosophy, fostering a culture of dialogue and mutual respect in Jain communities and beyond. So that was the philosophy of Anekantavada, which is the central viewpoint in the doctrine of relativity and also the main theory in the philosophy of Jainism. Karma and liberation in Jain thought. Karma in Jainism is a material substance that adheres to the soul, affecting its reincarnation and purity. So karma, unlike any other theories at that point of time, here karma is a material substance, and the role it plays on one's life decides the reincarnation and purity of that soul. Liberation is achieved through the shedding of karma acquired through understanding, renunciation and right conduct. So liberation can be achieved when the effect of karma wears out, and that wearing out can be done through understanding, renunciation and right code of conduct. The path to moksha involves successive stages, culminating in a stage of perfect knowledge and freedom from the cycle of birth and rebirth. So without perfect knowledge through successive stages, you cannot achieve enlightenment. Jainism offers a systematic approach to spiritual liberation, emphasizing the importance of individual effort and ethical discipline. So here we get a systematic approach through which one can get spiritual liberation by individual effort and proper ethical code of conduct. The final goal is attainment of Siddhaloka, where The soul exists in a state of pure consciousness free from karmic bondage. Now, essence of Jain philosophy and Mahavir's teachings. Here we will go through a summary of our entire presentation. Jainism stands as one of the oldest religions with its teaching predating and paralleling Buddhism, offering a path to liberation through strict ethics, non-violence and self-effort. As the 24th Tirthankar, Mahavir's life and teachings such as the renunciation of materialism and practice of Ahimsa have been central to shaping Jain philosophy and influencing millions of followers. The Jain view of time as cyclical with its soul's journey through various stages of existence underlines the importance of individual karma and the potential for liberation or moksha through ethical living and ascetic practice. The existence of various sects within Jainism such as Digambar and Svetambar reflects the religion's diversity yet unity in core beliefs about nature of reality, the soul and the path to enlightenment. Jainism's contribution to philosophical concepts like Anekantavada, which is multiplicity of viewpoints, and its environmental ethic of non-violence demonstrate its timeless relevance and the potential for dialogue and peace in the modern world. So that was all about the Tirthankars and the philosophy of Jainism. In our next video, we aim to bring forward other aspects of Jainism. So please support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much for your love and support.